Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. I'm CJ LeMaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host for the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk Update. Hope everything's going well for you this week. Some beautiful weather outside today right now, but we also have a lot of you watching on our Facebook and YouTube live stream, also on our OTT platforms. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share part of your day with us. So we appreciate that. We got a lot of stuff we want to get to first. You may have seen this leading our news yesterday, but it's still a big order, or a big story, I should say, today. An order requiring Mississippi to redraw its Supreme Court district lines has been overturned. The U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals granted a motion yesterday to vacate the order that required Mississippi to draw new lines that would have brought them in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. So the action that would have brought them in compliance with the act, as interpreted by a federal judge in Mississippi, has been struck down. The case had been tied up in courts for a while. You may remember that major U.S. Supreme Court ruling that changed everything. The lower courts were waiting on the ruling in Louisiana versus Calais that challenges the Voting Rights Act, the Federal Voting Rights Act. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court settled the case on April 30th, ruling 6-3 that courts cannot order states to redraw district lines solely to create more majority-minority districts. That decision directly undercuts the original ruling here in Mississippi, where District Judge Sharon Aycock said that the state's nearly 30-year-old Supreme Court districts needed to be redrawn in an effort to ensure black justices could be elected. Now, the Fifth Circuit has wiped Judge Aycock's order off the books. In a statement, Governor Tate Reeves said that the decision was, quote, a good day for those who believe in the principle that all Americans are created equal, a good day for law and order. That case will now be remanded back to Aycock's court for further proceedings. There could be more legal battles ahead. And again, we will continue to follow it. Got a couple of people saying hi on this Tuesday. Melissa Price, first up. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for saying good afternoon to me. I appreciate that, Melissa. That's very sweet of you. I hope you're having a good day, too. Britt saying hi to Miss Melissa. And, of course, happy Tuesday, everyone, with a smiling face. So that's good to see you, too, Britt. Britt and Melissa Price are typically our most well-attended, if I'm trying to think of the best. You know what? They're of everybody that watches us and comes through and takes a little time to see what we're doing here. Melissa and Britt are the most consistent. They're our biggest fans, as it were, and we appreciate that very much. Kind of along the same lines as that Fifth Circuit story, you might be wondering whether or not that decision will affect next week's special session, which Governor Tate Reeves called to redraw the Supreme Court district lines. Well, we don't know yet. Many Republicans want the governor to expand the call to include congressional redistricting as well. Some are targeting Congressman Benny Thompson's seat. He's the state's only Democrat and only African-American representative in Washington. State Democrats say they're trying to be prepared for anything at this point.
I think what you're hoping for is 4 conservative districts that could be drawn, and then the voters in each of those districts across Mississippi would then be empowered to elect the person of his or her choice.
This is getting away from democracy and going to a totalitarian state, and I do not like it. I will not support it.
Now, the special session is set to begin at 1 next Wednesday afternoon, so 8 days away. Only the governor can set or change the agenda. People around the world are suddenly talking about the hantavirus after it led to 3 people's deaths on a cruise ship. Now, there have been no confirmed cases here in Mississippi, but health experts say you still need to know the risks. It's always important to know that. It is a rare but potentially deadly infection. People typically get it by touching or being exposed to rodent droppings, urine, or saliva. The outbreak on the cruise ship was caused by a strain called the Andes virus. Experts say that strain is alarming because it can be spread through human-to-human contact.
It's transmitted by close contact, so like kissing, hugging, changing, coming in contact with bodily fluids, like if the person was sick or had diarrhea or something, if you change those bed sheets, any of that, or being in a very small enclosed space, i.e. A cabin on a cruise ship, a small space like that, then it has to be very close contact.
The illness can be milder. It can be a flu-like illness with aches and fever and headache and maybe cough and even some gastrointestinal symptoms, diarrhea and the like. But then in the severe cases, it can rapidly worsen into severe respiratory symptoms and pneumonia, respiratory failure with kind of diffuse lung involvement. And they just have really collapse of the heart and lungs system, and they require urgent intensive care.
For now, there is no cure for hantavirus and no vaccine, though one is in the works. The federal government says the Metro Jackson Water Authority Act would not interfere with the court's oversight of the city's water and sewer systems. Now, all parties in Jackson's challenge to the new state law were directed to brief U.S. District Judge Henry Wingate on potential impact. In a 9-page filing, federal officials argue the measure would remain subject to the court's jurisdiction rather than override it. Now, the response comes about a month after the governor signed the act, which would create a regional authority to take over Jackson's water and sewer systems once the federal receivership ends. Yesterday was the deadline for the federal government, the state, the Department of Environmental Quality, and Jackson Water to submit their responses. For all parties involved, they can all now be viewed on the U.S. District Court's website. The city of Jackson's response was not available on that website at last check, so we're not sure if the city has filed anything in that in terms of the, the judge's order, basically. Protective order in another case now prohibits the defendants in the Jackson bribery case from being able to share protected material with anyone other than their attorneys. The judge in the case laying out those new ground rules this week. Now, of course, the parties involved, current Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens, former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, and former Ward 6 Councilman Aaron Banks are basically being prohibited from sharing any of the evidence that's been collected and handed over from the government. They cannot keep copies of or print out electronic files. All that material must be returned or destroyed after the case is over. U.S. District Judge Dan Jordan's order comes months after Owens released dozens of exhibits highlighting otherwise unrevealed details about the FBI's investigation of public corruption. The case is set to go to trial in July. Lincoln County is cleaning up after a tornado tore through Wednesday, leaving some families with nothing, but volunteers with Pleasant Hill Baptist Church have been on the ground offering free cleaning supplies, diapers, hygiene items, working alongside Samaritan's Purse. 8 roads at this point are still blocked by debris. Relief groups aren't waiting for victims to come to them, though. They're going out.
Yesterday, I went out. Should have just taken me 10 minutes to get to a lady. We found out about a lady who needed some stuff. We left. Should have been a 10-minute trip. It took me 30 to 45 minutes to get to her just because of the roads. Power lines are still down. There's still crews trying to work. trees that have not been taken out of the road yet.
Well, churches, the Red Cross, and the Salvation Army are all responding. Distribution sites are open now at the Boca Chica and East Lincoln fire departments. Damage assessments have already begun. That is an important step toward getting outside aid. Lincoln County in particular has a long road ahead, but they're not facing it alone. Meanwhile, storm recovery efforts continue today in Lamar County as well. A disaster relief ministry called Just the
Yesterday,
Crumbs.
I went out.
Sorry, folks. Called Just the Crumbs has been in Purvis serving meals to first responders and survivors. The organization was founded in Colombia after a Christmas Eve tornado there in 2014. Since then, it has responded to disasters in about 20 other states. The group spent more than a year in North Carolina after that catastrophic flooding. Now they're helping, once again, neighbors back home.
It's good to be with people that you know and people that know you and come out to help you, and it's been good to be back at home. My policy has been we stay as long as there's a need, as long as we have the help, and as long as we have the funds.
Just the Crumbs is currently serving hot meals every day at Lamar Christian School in Purvis. Leaders say they will stay there as long as they're needed. There's also a team in Boca Chica. Well, MEMA's executive director, Stephen McRaney, says more than 120 homes were damaged in last week's storms. He says at least 20 others were destroyed. More than a dozen businesses and public roads also damaged. McRaney says more than 600,000 tons of debris still needs to be cleaned up in wooded areas. And if that doesn't happen, it could become fuel for a wildfire. He says MEMA has a long road ahead when it comes to collecting data on last week's storms before the state can apply for federal assistance.
Now I've probably got 20 people down there right now that are canvassing, going around, looking at damage assessments, looking at homes, talking with the individuals that are down there to see what's insured, what's not. All that plays a big role when we can make a decision where we feel like we can get a federal declaration for something.
McRaney went on to thank all of the emergency managers at the local level for their cooperation and assistance in helping storm victims and helping MEMA with that assessment work. We also want to let you know there's another way that you can help directly those impacted by the storms. Our parent company, Gray Media, is partnering with the Salvation Army to host the South Mississippi Tornado Relief Drive. 100% of your donations will go directly to disaster relief right here in the Magnolia State. Just scan that QR code on your screen to donate right now. A couple other folks saying hi on this Tuesday. Linda Hawkins saying good afternoon and happy blessed Tuesday to you all. Hope you're doing well, Miss Linda. Thank you for that. Torsha Woods saying good afternoon, everyone. I pray we all stay safe and we can get a resolution that is positive with all that is happening in the nation. We appreciate that, Miss Torsha. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. Also, O.C. Tillman saying good afternoon, everyone, as well. Hope you're doing well. And that is all the time we have for this edition of the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk Update. It's a mouthful every time I say it, isn't it? On this Tuesday, May 12th. We appreciate you watching. Our First Alert Weather Team will be in here at 2:30 to let you know what this weekend's looking like and the rest of your week, how that's going to shape up. And our early evening newscasts begin at 4 p.m. on air and online. For everyone here at WLBT, I'm CJ LeMaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host each and every weekday. We appreciate you watching once again, and we will see you back here tomorrow at 1.